I fell down the stairs at work and ended up with serious injuries. The president and my colleague, who were worried about me, spoke to me kindly, and I was on the verge of tears. Then, my wife, Kathy, arrived late. To my dismay, she came with a man she was having an affair with.
There's no use for the incompetent.
With no compassion, Kathy thrust the divorce papers at me, seriously injured. This made me feel conflicted. "You know nothing," I muttered softly. Although we were married, we truly understood nothing about each other. My name is Thomas Ingram. I'm 43 years old. I've been working as a technician in a factory in a downtown area for over 25 years. Back in high school, while almost everyone else was deciding to go to college, I was the only one who chose to work in a downtown factory right after graduation. My parents, a small business employee and a stay-at-home mom, were quite ordinary, so they were surprised by my choice to start working immediately instead of pursuing further education. They didn't grasp the concept of learning a trade. Initially, they opposed it, embarrassed that I wouldn't even get a college degree when it was the norm, but I had always been handy and wanted to make a career out of making things. More importantly, I never liked studying at school. I was slightly above average in grades, but with that level of academic ability, college would have just been a waste of 4 years. It made more sense to start working early in a field I was interested in, to build my career. I managed to convince my parents and got them to accept my decision. Looking back, I think it was the right move. Soon after, the job market froze, and many who went to college struggled with their job searches. It was the beginning of a long economic downturn. Even the downtown factory faced financial difficulties, but those with solid skills managed to survive. The president of the factory, who valued people like me with hands-on skills, really appreciated what I could do. Since then, I've focused solely on my work. I specialize in using a lathe, a machine that processes metal, and the machines have become automated. While the necessity for intuition and dexterity has diminished compared to the past, there's still a demand for the skills I've honed over the years. I need to continue honing my own skills while also nurturing talent development. With my single-minded focus on work, I remain single in my private life. But it's not fair to blame my job. To be honest, I've always been a bit awkward around women. It's been like that since I was a kid. The last real conversation I had with a girl was back in 4th grade. There was a girl named Laura I used to walk to school with, and I could talk to her comfortably. But after she moved away, I lost all opportunities to talk with girls. Because of my shyness, I couldn't initiate conversations with women. I'm fine in professional settings, but it's a different story in my personal life. My parents and colleagues at the factory were the ones concerned about my lack of femininity. I was told that my abstention from alcohol, gambling, marriage, and relationships with women, despite being a non-drinker and non-gambler, could be unhealthy in its own right. Thinking I shouldn't worry them, I tried to be more open-minded. That's when I met my wife, Kathy. She was a young woman, much younger than me, and we met when I went to a pub with a colleague from work. Sitting at the counter, I ended up next to her, who had come alone, and we got along. Thanks to the alcohol and my chatty colleague, I could converse without feeling nervous. Though I mostly just nodded and answered questions next to my chatting colleague. My quiet demeanor even with alcohol seemed to make a good impression on Kathy. She expressed her desire to stay in touch. Within 6 months, we decided to get married. It all happened so fast. From what I heard, Kathy had always dreamed of being married by 30. And deciding to marry me the day before her birthday seemed fitting to her. He seemed earnest, and I wanted to quit my night job, and so she said. She had been working nights. Kathy, who was about to turn 30, worked where most of her colleagues were women in their early 20s. She started feeling like the old lady of the group. Whatever the reason, I was grateful that someone with no special talents like me got married to her. And now, almost a year has passed since we got married. Kathy, who had quit her night job, now says she wants to work nights again. After getting married, I realized Kathy tends to be extravagant with money. She had hardly saved anything during her single years, living a life of spending whatever she earned. However, since it was her own money, I thought it wasn't my place to say anything special about it. Yet, she couldn't stop her spending habits even after we were married. Kathy even started dipping into the savings I had accumulated. Still, I decided to think of it as paying her a salary since she was doing the housework as a homemaker. Thinking it wouldn't be right to outright deny her, I decided to wait and see if she would settle down. But Kathy's shopping habits escalated. Even her everyday clothes and the sandals she wore around the neighborhood were designer brands. Her flashy style became the talk of the neighbors. A colleague who lived nearby, Kevin, expressed his concerns. His wife was in the town's women's association, so she quickly heard all the gossip. Kathy just never neglects her style, I said with a laugh, but Kevin's face grew more somber.
I hate to say this, man, but some folks saw your wife downtown with a young guy. I'm not saying I doubt her, but I'm worried about you.
I didn't want to suspect Kathy either, but I couldn't just ignore Kevin's concerns. That night, I decided to talk with Kathy about her spending habits. However, there was absolutely no discussion about it. As soon as I brought it up, she flew into a rage.
Are you saying I can't spend money freely because I don't work?
Kathy was furious, and calming her down was all I could manage. It was impossible to have a proper discussion. Ultimately, being a homemaker was just too dull and boring for Kathy. Living with someone like me, who was dedicated and focused solely on work, was far from the life she had imagined. So when she said she wanted to work nights again, I couldn't say no. I believe it's up to her to choose what job she wants to do. I too had to defy my parents to follow my own path in life. I have no right to restrict Kathy's life.
If you have problems with what I do, you shouldn't have married me in the first place.
I had nothing to say back to her. Since then, I often found myself lost in thought at work, unsure of how to deal with Kathy. The accident happened during one such moment. We decided to have lunch outside the company during the break, and as I was going down the stairs, I missed a step. I tumbled all the way down the stairs, lost consciousness. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries, but I ended up with a complicated fracture in my ankle and collarbone. I regained consciousness in the hospital after emergency surgery. The voice calling to me was Kevin's, and I barely opened my eyes. There were Kevin and the president, peering worriedly into my face.
Thank goodness, you're awake.
They both said. I couldn't move at all, only looking around with my eyes.
Thomas, you fell down the stairs and got seriously hurt. Everyone's been worried, but I'm glad you woke up.
Kevin said, his voice almost breaking. I thought surely Kathy must be worried too, so I muttered, Kathy is. Then the two exchanged glances, making troubled faces.
The thing is, we couldn't get in touch with your wife. The president had to sign the surgery consent form.
When I thanked the president, he smiled and said, just rest for now. That was when Kathy dramatically appeared in the hospital room. She stood by my bed and, with an unusually cold look, said, sign your name here, while unfolding a divorce paper in front of me. Before the storm that was about to start, I'll share a dream I had from the time I fell down the stairs to now. It was a dream featuring myself as a young boy in my elementary school days, viewed from a distance by my current self. In the dream, I was having breakfast at home and then heading to school with a girl, Laura. Laura was excitedly talking about an animated robot show she had seen the day before, a popular genre at the time. Laura was a tomboy and preferred stories about robots and battles over typical girly shows. She was lively and could chat happily with anyone. I admired her for that. Then the scene switched to us at the riverside at dusk. The setting sun made our faces look flushed with heat. Laura looked unusually upset, walking ahead, and I followed her slowly. As a young boy, I didn't understand why she was upset. But now, I understood. Laura's parents were getting a divorce, and she was going to live with her mother. Suddenly, Laura turned around and blurted out,
My parents are getting a divorce.
As a child, I didn't quite understand. What do you mean? What's a divorce? I asked.
Don't you know? It means Mom and Dad will live separately.
Laura replied, sounding a bit angry. I didn't really understand, as my parents were happy together, and the concept of living apart didn't make sense to me. So I asked a silly question. Why would they live apart? Laura probably thought I wouldn't understand no matter what she said. Never mind, she said and ran off at full speed back home. I was too slow to chase after her, and the suddenness of it all just left me standing there, confused. Then, Laura stopped coming to my house, and soon after, she transferred schools. Her sudden disappearance was a shock to me. I thought I must have done something wrong, and until I knew the truth, I believed that she had disappeared because she disliked me. It might have been something that I always regretted and became a trauma. That's why I was afraid of being disliked by Kathy. I avoided having serious conversations. Maybe that's why things turned out this way.
I have someone I want to marry. I've felt this way for a long time.
She said this, pointing to a young man standing at the entrance of the hospital room. Unlike me, he was tall and quite handsome.
What are you saying at a time like this?
The shocked president and Kevin said to Kathy. However, Kathy glared at them and retorted.
This has nothing to do with you.
Her sudden change was quite something. Even the president looked stunned by Kathy's words.
It's ridiculous how clumsy you are to get injured like this. The doctor said there might be lasting effects. We don't even know if you can return to work. That's why I want a divorce.
She said, smiling slightly. There's no use for the incompetent. To this, I muttered, you really don't know anything. Even though we are married, we really don't know anything about each other.
Come on, lady. That's too outrageous.
Kevin was the one who spoke up to Kathy.
Your husband is seriously injured, and you bring another man and ask for a divorce. That's beyond insensitive. And where have you been up until now that your phone couldn't be reached?
Then Kathy glared sharply at Kevin.
It's none of your business what I do or where I am. This is a matter between spouses. Don't interfere.
I tried to say, Kathy, but at that moment, a sharp pain shot through me. Ouch, I grimaced, and the president quickly came over.
Thomas, don't. You can't strain yourself. You're seriously injured.
The president looked at me with a kind, fatherly concern. Yes, the president has always been like a father to me. He understood me better than my own parents and was the one who saw potential in me despite my lack of any obvious talents. Actually, I had been visiting the factory since I was in high school. I grew up near an industrial area and always thought people who worked in factories were cool. Using machines and getting dirty with oil, my dream was to one day build a robot myself. I really wanted to go to a vocational high school. However, vocational schools had a bad reputation, and my parents wanted me to go to a regular high school. I followed their advice at the time, but I couldn't give up on working in a factory. It was fortunate that I had a teacher who listened to my concerns. There was a career counseling office at the school, and when I talked about it there, they arranged for me to visit a factory. I met the current president of the company there. I remember him telling me that I could always come and visit the factory.
He's not a stranger to me. He's an irreplaceable engineer who has supported my factory and is like a son to me. I would like to leave the factory in Thomas's hands as my own son's replacement.
I was surprised to hear those words. I had no idea the president thought so highly of me. I almost teared up at his unexpected words. Leave the factory to him. Kathy's eyes widened.
Does that mean he will eventually become the president?
Kathy suddenly looked excited. Then, a young man who had been watching from a distance entered the hospital room and said, "Hey, hurry up and sign this," pointing at the divorce papers.
Wait, it seems there's still hope. This guy might be more impressive than I thought. I thought the end of savings would be the end of our relationship, but there might still be something worth seeing here.
Hearing this, Kevin confronted Kathy.
What the hell are you talking about? What do you think of Thomas? He's not working just to fund your lavish lifestyle. And who is that guy anyway?
Kevin glared fiercely at the young man. No, it was more like he was cutting him down with his glare. Apparently, Kevin had been quite the wild one in his youth and was even the leader of a biker gang. Intimidated by Kevin's glare, the young man stammered, "What do you want?"
You can leave now. I never really planned to marry you. I just wanted a set of wheels, that's all.
Kathy told the young man. Then he cursed at Kathy damn woman and stormed out of the hospital room.
What a woman, Thomas. Just sign the divorce papers and end this.
Kevin said to me, but I didn't even have the strength to hold a pen.
I've decided to stop the divorce. I'll tear this up.
Kathy said, snatching the divorce papers I had spread out in front of me and tearing them up.
What the hell are you doing?
Kevin shouted.
Despite everything, I hope we can get along from now on, Thomas.
Kathy said to me with a smile. I smiled back at her. Then I said to the stunned Kevin standing there, "Kevin, can you get the envelope from my bag over there?" Sure," Kevin replied and pulled it out of my bag. "Open it and spread it out." I instructed, and Kevin slowly took out a folded piece of paper from the envelope and unfolded it, his face registering surprise. That would make sense. It was a divorce paper, prepared just to add Kathy's name. "Hey, you, this." Kevin looked shocked. "I've been struggling with this decision for a long time. It's the first time I've ever been so troubled in my life. I was so distracted that I ended up in this mess, but maybe this is a good opportunity." I slightly moved my head and looked at Kathy, who had a confused expression, not understanding what had happened. "Thank you for marrying me, but I'm sorry it has come to this. I don't think I can make you happy, Kathy, so let's get a divorce." Then Kathy's expression changed from fear to determination as she said, "What are you talking about? I'm not getting a divorce." It felt like I was seeing a side of Kathy I never knew before. Kathy had mentioned growing up with a single parent and struggling during her childhood. She didn't want to struggle in life anymore. "I want to end things amicably, so I don't want to drag this out in court. You can claim alimony if you want." Kevin, who had been listening, said to me,
You should be the one claiming alimony. All your savings were spent. She cheated with another man. She did whatever she wanted. Man, you're really too kind or just foolish.
I smiled and replied, "Maybe so. But Kathy did devote some of her time to me. I'm grateful for that, and at least I got to experience being married."
And getting divorced too.
Kevin remarked, still looking unconvinced. Kathy's face turned pale as she stared at the divorce papers. I thought she might tear them up again, but with trembling hands, she filled in her name. She then brought the signed papers to me and with a deflated look, left the hospital room. Now that the divorce was finalized, I braced myself for how much Kathy might claim. But no matter how long I waited, there was no word from her.
Of course, no lawyer would want to handle such an unfavorable case.
All I could do was hope that Kathy would find true happiness one day. Doctors said my recovery would take 6 months, so I spent a lot of time in bed. During this time, a miracle happened. I met Laura again, and she was the nurse assigned to me. One day, I noticed the nameplate pinned to her chest read Laura Smith. Hesitantly, I shared that I used to be friends with a girl named Laura who lived nearby when I was young. It turned out she was indeed the same Laura.
Could it be Thomas?
She said nostalgically. As I nodded and we talked about the robot anime we both loved, she smiled a familiar smile. It turns out, after moving away, Laura became a nurse, got married, and was initially happy. However, her marriage didn't last, and after a divorce, she returned home with her child and started working at this hospital. I felt it was time to say something I had always wanted to. I'm sorry for not understanding your feelings back then. Laura looked surprised, then smiled warmly.
I've always wanted to apologize for the way we parted. I actually wanted to keep in touch through letters, but I was too shy to give you my address.
Feeling emboldened, I decided to take a chance. Would you like to have dinner with me once I'm better? Laura laughed softly and responded,
I have a child, you know.
Of course, your child is welcome too. Laura smiled. Just seeing her warm smile made me feel that even my injury was a fortunate twist of fate.